Hi boys and girls, welcome back. I am excited to share a new book with you today, and this book is called Mr. Putter and Tabby Feed the Fish. Now, you read a book last week with Mrs. Shooter, Mr. Putter and Tabby Drop the Ball. And in that story, I know you guys talked a lot about the characters in the story, and those characters in her story and Mrs. Shooter's story are actually in this story as well. We have some of the same characters, such as Mr. Putter and Tabby the cat on the front. And then also Mrs. Teaberry, I know, was a character in that book, Drop the Ball. And if you recall, too, Mrs. Teaberry has a dog named Zeke. And Zeke was also in that story. And those characters will also be in this same one called Feed the Fish. So I'm excited to share with you guys another book in that series. And hopefully we'll get to learn a little bit more about these characters as we go along. So I want to talk to you about our focus for this week. Now, when we do our read aloud for this week, we are going to be focusing on something called story elements. And in story elements, what we talk about and what we learn about are things like the characters and the problem and the setting and the solution. So we get to know the characters along the way. I should back up. We do the setting usually first. So the setting is where the story takes place. Now in the story, there is a certain setting, so where the story takes place, but then the setting does change a little bit. So we'll have to notice when that happens. And then usually in a fiction book, the author likes to put a problem in there and a problem that needs to be fixed or solved. So we'll go ahead and hopefully by the end of our book, which has 4 chapters, hopefully by the end of the book, we'll figure out what the problem is and what the solution is as well. So let's go ahead and get to know our story a little bit before we even start reading. And we call that the sneak peek. And you guys are very familiar with that. You know all about that. So again, if you look carefully on the front cover, you see Mr. Putter and you see Tabby. You also see a fish bowl with 3 little fish swimming around. And it looks like Mr. Putter is doing something to that fish bowl. It looks like he's dropping or sprinkling something into the fish bowl. I'm guessing he's feeding the fish right now. And if you take a look at Tabby's eyes, do Tabby's eyes look really wide and big and open? Yeah, cats like to kind of look at fish and they kind of go a little crazy and bonkers when they're around fish. We'll see if that has anything to do with in our story. If you take a look at the back, we've got a little blurb on the back that we like to take a peek at and read beforehand just to help us understand our story a little bit better. It says, Mr. Putter and Tabby love to go to the fish store. That sounds like a setting. Maybe that's where the story takes place. So they decide to bring 3 goldfish home as pets. Then they discover that Tabby has a fish problem. I'm wondering what that fish problem is. Keep that in mind while we're reading the story. Let's find out what the fish problem is, and hopefully we'll figure that out as we read. All right, so let's go ahead and read our title page, Mr. Putter and Tabby Feed the Fish. Now again, if you look up close, you can see Mr. Putter, and he has Tabby on his shoulder, and he looks like he's standing in front of a few large fish tanks. I'm guessing that he might be at the fish store. Remember on the back it said that he decided to bring 3 goldfish home as pets. So maybe that's where he's at right now. Let's start reading and find out. All right. So before we read, I have to apologize. We have to go ahead and look at our table of contents. We've got 4 chapters here. The first one is called The Fish Store. The second one is called Bat. The third one is called Bat, Bat, Bat. And the fourth one is called So Relaxed. I'm curious why these 2 chapters, 2 and 3, say bat and then bat, bat, bat. I'm wondering what kind of bat that means. I know bats that fly in the sky. I know that when you play baseball, you take a bat and hit a ball. But let's find out what kind of bat they're talking about as we read on. All right, here we go. Chapter 1, The Fish Store. Mr. Putter and his fine cat Tabby loved going to the fish store. Oh, that must be our setting. That's where the story is taking place. Mr. Putter loved it because he had owned goldfish as a boy. He had always liked goldfish. You can see he's looking carefully in the window, into the tank of the fish tank to maybe decide which ones he wanted. And Tabby, his trusty little friend, is right there with him, staring at those fish. Tabby loved it because it made her whiskers tingle and her tail twitch. Tabby was old, but she still loved excitement. And fish were exciting. You see his eyes are nice and big and wide again, just like it was on the front cover. One day, Mr. Putter and Tabby were watching the fish in the fish store when Mr. Putter said, "Let's bring some home." It has been years, many years, since Mr. Putter had owned fish. He thought it would be fun to have some again. It would make him feel like a boy. So again, it would make him feel young again, it sounds like. And it would be good exercise for Tabby's tail. Boys and girls, why do you think that his tail would need exercise, or why do you think his tail would be wagging so much? That's right. When he's staring at those fish, he gets very excited, and his tail, just like a dog, sometimes cats do the same thing. When they get real excited, their tail starts to wag really, really fast. "We'll take 3 and a nice big bowl," Mr. Putter said to the fish man. Wait a second. It looks like we're meeting a new character here. A fish man. You know, I read the story ahead of time before I read it to you boys and girls, and he's not in the story at all except on this page. So we wouldn't say he's a main character, but we did get to meet a new one. Even though it was very briefly, he's a fish man, so he's the man that works in the store that's helping collect the fish for Mr. Putter and Tabby. And so we would call him probably more like a supporting character. He's in the story to support the story, but he's not one of the main characters. Okay, let's continue on. Mr. Putter and Tabby drove their fish home. Tabby nearly twitched herself right out of the car. She wasn't sure she could handle this much excitement. Wow, she's getting so excited that she almost twitched herself right out of the car. If you look really closely, can you see her? She's kind of balancing and maybe possibly losing her balance on the back of that seat. She got so excited seeing those fish, she almost lost her balance. Chapter 2. This is the one that's called Bat, so hopefully we'll get to learn more about that in a minute. Back at home, Mr. Putter got the fish bowl ready. Oh, wait a second. They're saying back at home. So did our setting change now? Yeah, it did. We started off at the fish store, and now the characters have gone home. So this is where our setting is now. This is where the story is taking place. First the fish store, and now at home. Back at home, Mr. Putter got the fish bowl ready. He dropped the three fish in. Plop, plop, plop. You see them falling in? Right into the water. Then he gave them some food. The fish seemed very happy. They swam up and swam and ate and ate. That almost looks like the front cover of the story where Mr. Putter is feeding the fish with Tabby looking over his shoulder. Mr. Putter watched and Tabby batted. Bat, bat, bat. "Don't bat the fish, Tabby," said Mr. Putter. Now are you understanding what kind of bat we're talking about? If he's batting the side of the bowl there, he's hitting the side of the bowl to try to get at the what? That's right, the fish. But Tabby couldn't help it. She got all twitchy. Bat went her paw on the glass. "No batting," said Mr. Putter. Bat, 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 bat. Keeps batting. You think those fish are a little frightened? I think I would be if I was a fish. Finally, Mr. Putter said, "Come on, Tabby, let's go to bed. We'll watch the fish tomorrow." Tabby wanted to go to bed. She needed to go to bed. She was tired from all that batting, but she couldn't move. "Bedtime, Tabby," said Mr. Putter. Bat, bat, bat. Mr. Putter looked at Tabby. Mr. Putter looked at the fish. He said. When the author puts that word in the story, I'm guessing he's thinking of what to put next as far as maybe Mr. Putter has an idea. Let's find out what idea he has in mind. Because we know that Tabby does not want to go to bed, does he? He went to get a pillowcase. He put the pillowcase over the fish bowl. "Now can we go to bed?" he asked Tabby. Tabby purred and followed him to bed. Did his idea work? Yep, he got him to leave the fish alone and got him to come to bed. All right, and at this point, we're stopping here because we did our first 2 chapters. Let's talk about this real quick for a minute. We talked about our characters in this story. So we still have our same characters. We have Mr. Putter and Tabby. We have 3 goldfish, although they're not characters that talk or do much in the story. We had the fish man, which is the supporting character like we talked about. Have we met Mrs. T-Berry and Zeke yet? Nope, that'll probably be in chapters 3 and 4. So again, our story elements that we talked about today were the setting, which we know was first of all the fish store, and then it changed. Remember, after the fish store, Mr. Putter and Tabby came home with the 3 fish. So then it changed from the fish store to the home. And then now, is there really a problem yet in the story? Not really that much. Well, I suppose, you know, when they had to cover up the fishbowl to make sure that Tabby could finally leave the fish alone and go away and go to bed, that could have been the problem. But let's continue tomorrow and see what happens. Let's see if another bigger problem arises. Thanks for joining me. Have a good night.